It was not as bad as...
Is there one more bullet in the chamber as a 9 hits the river in this over $7,000 pot?
Yeah, that was way worse.
Yeah, I was one.
One.
Has no patience, look at his face and in his eyes. He's been way bound to the die. Always taking chances, all those conversations. Don't know if I'll make it, don't know why he even tries. Say, oh, I am a believer. Oh, don't know how I'll be if I'm not free to take a lead. Oh, I am a believer. Oh, ground beneath my feet, but I don't flee cause I believe. I'll stay down to the ground.
Hey guys, welcome back to Raising the Nuts. This is a very special episode of Raising the Nuts because I'm playing in about an hour or two on Poker Go on Poker After Dark. 25-50 no limit, 6 other guys in the mix, and I'm really excited. To be honest with you, it's kind of crazy that this is even happening. I mean, a week ago, I had no intention of being in Vegas right now. They posted something on Twitter about Open Seat Week, and I wrote a little something, and a lot of people said they wanted to see me on the show, which was really awesome, and I got on.
The right idea. In his tweet that got him in here, he said he's got a YouTube channel where his kids recreate hands that happened on the show in a creative and fun way. He'll vlog about the experience, and he'll play a very high percentage of the hands dealt and have a great time doing it. Well, how could we have resisted that?
It's hard to imagine 5 years ago that I would be in this place right now to even play on this show, and the reason I say that is because dealing with the anxiety that I went through that stretch, and I just never pictured being able to play on TV and play in high pressure situations. There were times when I couldn't imagine even going to play a live tournament because of the anxiety that I felt as, you know, high pressure situations would come up and then my head would start to spin and things like that. So just to be in this spot right now is pretty incredible, and I'm really, really grateful for this opportunity. And if I never get to play on TV again, that's fine. I'm just happy to have this opportunity, and I'm hopefully gonna make the best of it and have a great time. Now, don't get me wrong, the anxiety leading up to this has been pretty intense. So let's see, today is now Tuesday. So over the weekend, I definitely had some rough days there. Just, you know, all the thoughts go through your head about how it's gonna play out and what's gonna happen. And, you know, there's a lot of nerves involved. And so I'm definitely a little nervous right now. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Just giving you guys a little glimpse into what I'm thinking right now. And I'm not nervous about the stakes that we're playing or anything like that. And it's hard to really pinpoint my finger on what it is that is making me nervous right now. But I'm hoping to just kind of get into the flow of things and have fun and play my best, and then whatever happens, happens. I want to say also in here that creating this channel has been such a huge thing for me. The people that I've been able to talk to and the support that I've gotten from everybody has just been incredible. And being able to share the things that I've done to help with mental health for myself, to help other people with their mental health, has been truly a great thing for me. Jody and I plan to continue to do that through another medium. We put out our first ever podcast on Wednesday. We hope you guys will check it out. We're gonna focus a lot on mental health issues, but also talk about poker, talk about nutrition, talk about raising kids and parenting and what it's like to raise kids in this crazy life that we live. And so hopefully you guys enjoy it and you check it out. We'll post a link below for the podcast. I'm gonna go down to the Poker Go studios now, meet up with Brent Hanks for a little bit, for a little chat. And then we get started around 2 o'clock. So we'll see how it goes from there. Okay, here in the present now, I'm actually going to go through each hand far more analytically than I normally do on my channel. I'm going to talk about what I was thinking in each decision point, why I came to each decision, if I liked the decision that I made, and we'll go from there. A couple other things here. This is probably going to be a multi-part series because there are a lot of hands to get into. Also, I'm going to do some fun things with the kids as well. Those will be in other videos. You can look forward to some recreations and some fun creative things in other videos.
Cool. Used to be a dealer.
He'll
take his seat.
Well, I woke up, I've been in this awful pain.
I didn't take long to get into action. Second hand off the deck, I defend a raise with 8-4 of clubs from Brandon. Pre-flop looks good. There's an ante in play here, so going to be defending a lot of hands. Brandon's going to be opening wide range. So easy call pre-flop.
Cost us time, Mike. Check. King 6-5 with a couple of spades and a heads-up affair between Cantu and Savage, who defended his big. and has flopped the backdoor clubs and gut shot straight draw against Cantu's top pair. Brandon C bets 300. Savage will peel.
On the flop, I can consider a check raise here, and I would do it if he were deeper. If we were deeper here, then I'd like check raising, as we have backdoor flush draw and a gut shot, and we can barrel across multiple streets. Given that he's only 5K deep, I think call makes sense.
Yeah, we got the wheels streaked up.
Board pairs.
Something?
They're just not rollers.
Oh, okay. This is as high as this one goes.
I think so. I pushed mine up.
Now Trevor deciding to
Three a bunch
lead.
over there. Try a different one. This is too low for me.
Cantu's going to keep him honest.
I know
You should have a left.
This turn, I actually do not like my lead against Brandon specifically. Normally, this 6 should hit me more often than the preflop raiser. However, with Brandon, who's going to be opening almost all 6x combos, it actually hits him equally, if not more, maybe. For that reason, I actually don't like leading in my spot. Additionally, he's going to check back this turn a lot, and so we're going to get to realize our equity for free, going to the river, and still bluff off the same hands often that we'd be bluffing on the turn.
Some interesting storylines could develop here, as some of these players have never, ever played with one another before, nor do they have any
You guys got a
knowledge.
share that goes up. Mike's having trouble getting it up. Can
Spades get
somebody
there.
help him? Yeah. Lob that one up.
Yeah, that's
Once he makes the call and the river comes a spade, I really don't like my bluff here at all. In game, what I was thinking, first of all, I'm sure I was just a little bit nervous because this was the first pot that I was playing. Second of all, in game, I was thinking I wanted to choose a sizing that I'd choose with all of my value hands, which is the sizing that I ended up choosing I did like, as far as that's what I would choose with my value hands. However, once the river's a spade, there's very few hands that Brandon's folding that get here at this point that he continued with. I don't think he's folding any King X hands. Obviously, his flushes just got there, so really I'm targeting his missed straight draws, and I have an 8 and a 4 in my hand. So I really don't like my bluff here.
Take a button off. That'll help.
Trevor fired again with his 8 high, and
I did think also that it wouldn't be bad to bluff at this in this spot, just because if I get called, I show down a bluff, and whatever, it sets a decent image for me being on the looser side or whatever. I just don't think it's going to work often enough to make it profitable, and he called obviously with King 10.
Brandon didn't waste any time calling, and and in comes a double straddle.
900.
Here's where we have the dream. We have aces in a double straddle pot. I started the hand with, I believe, a little over 8K, and I make it $900. I actually did not like the precedent this sat for me. I wanted to make larger raise sizes on Brandon's straddle because I knew that he'd be defending very liberally. However, by making it 4.5X, I kind of set myself up to do that in the future in all these spots. And I don't know that I wanted to be doing that. I think I wanted to be doing it a little bit smaller and wider rather than tighter and bigger.
Needles for Trevor Savage on the button in this double straddled pot. Timing could not be better as he makes it 900. And Matusow with the ace queen
Oh, I think 10.
steps in a fresh pile of it.
Mike 3-bets me to 2,800. I'm in a spot against Mike where I did not want him to fold his hand, and I thought that Mike would fold a hand like 10s or jacks after 3-betting if I were to jam it all in there, knowing nothing about me. And so I just go ahead and call. Obviously, the stack to pot ratio is going to be pretty good as we put in 2,800, and there's a bunch of dead money in there. I think it sets up really good to flat aces here.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Can't blame him, really. Looks like Savage is just getting after that dead money. And ace queen is a lot of hand. And Trevor
Get deeper.
Much deeper.
gonna give Mike some rope as it comes king 10-6. All hearts. Savage has the hearts covered. Matusow just with this gut shot Broadway draw and
1900.
fires the C bet of 1900.
The flop comes all hearts. Obviously, a good flop for me in the sense that I flopped the nut flush draw. However, I thought that Mike would have a really tight pre-flop 3-bet range here, of which kings and 10s are a pretty big part of it. So those two combos do flop sets. Obviously, can't be too worried about that with the stock to pot ratio and the fact that we have the nut flush draw as well. And when he bets 1900, I don't think there's anything to do other than call.
Into almost 6 dimes. Roughly 1/3 pot. And Savage could certainly flat once more, which he does. And this is the point at which Matusow has to know something's up. And now Mike draws dead as the fourth heart rolls off, giving Savage the nuts.
Turn, obviously I make the nuts, which is nice, and he checks. And at this point, I did not expect him to ever bluff in this spot for my remaining 3,000. And so I just really wanted to charge his strong hands, meaning his sets, or, you know, put him to a decision if he does have something like queens with the queen of hearts or jacks with the jack of hearts. I did not anticipate him folding those hands on the turn, or like being able to make an extra bet in the river.
Mike checks it. Trevor holding the nuts. Certainly could have checked back and seen whether or not Mike wanted to get after it, or could have improved in some way.
Nice.
But instead he says all in.
So I go ahead and just shove, and he had ace queen offsuit, so he obviously folded pretty easily.
You fold.
And Mike bucks, headed Trevor's way.
I don't think he heard you.
Not
Might have
really.
to ask him again.
What did you fold, Mike?
Now beyond simply playing poker, the West Deptford, New Jersey man
Didn't see his hand either.
actually
I just checked.
vlogs.
I wasn't
He's
curious.
got a
on
vlog
his.
called
You can
Raising the
have
Nuts, where he focuses on what it's like to support a family playing poker. His kids frequently getting involved, doing impersonations of famous poker players, recreating hands from
Right here, Mike. where it counts.
televised
Also
poker
alongside Brandon Maria,
Okay.
and then just
200.
some other random gigs here and there. Am I better than one of them? No, absolutely not. Drawing dead at that as well.
I see what you did there,
The door
Justin.
was open, but if I make fun of Ali, he's got the mic and just the whole rest of the show.
That's right. Play your cards right, not just the ones you've been dealt.
You're better than Brent.
Yes. 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 I'll snap that off. Yeah.
Savage opened to 200 here, as both blinds came along for the ride, taking the ace-king-5 flop.
Better than Tuckman.
Okay, standard pre-flop raise in this hand. I think checking back on the flop is fine. Obviously, this is a board that should hit me harder than my opponent's, but it's not a board with my hand that I want to set up multiple streets or anything like that. So I go ahead and check, and turn is gin.
Is a worthy.
A round of checks allows an 8 of hearts to roll off on the
playing
turn.
it, they're
Can't
all
blame
better.
Justin Young for deciding
The
to
commentary.
fire.
I can hold my own against.
Justin leads out for 300, and I think it's a spot where I just want to raise. I'm repping a very narrow range of hands, but I just have one of my really strong value hands, and I can occasionally mix in some raises here with some turn flush draws and some hands like 6-7 and things like that. So I go ahead and put in the raise, and he makes a pretty quick call.
His gut shot straight draw, and now Trevor with the set.
1,300.
Takes it uptown.
Call.
Young decides he's not a believer for the time being as the 4 of spades rolls off on the heels of his 1K call.
On the river, the straight gets there. When he checks, I decide to slightly overbet, as now I'm just targeting his ace-x hand, and I'm going to be only betting this river for value with really strong hands like ace-8 and pocket eights, pretty much. All of my other hands that are very strong will be betting the flop. Also 6-7, obviously that got there. And I will be bluffing with hearts, some missed hearts, and some other maybe missed gut shots that are hands like 9-7. I'm really targeting his ace-x hands, making them make a decision whether they're going to call or not.
He quickly checks on the end.
$3,800.
3,800.
Facing the $3,800 bet on the river. Justin waves the white flag correctly. Says
Get Brent in here. I need more money.
5-way limp pot, ace-6-5 rainbow.
This next hand seems relatively insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but it actually is one that tilted me a little bit because I felt like I should have taken a different line. It's a limp pot, and on the flop, it checks to Brandon, who bets, and Jeff makes the call in the small blind. And I think this is just a spot where I can put in a very easy raise against weaker ranges and just pick up the money in the middle. And I also have some equity, obviously, if I get called. I end up just deciding to call.
I would.
That was funnier than when you just calling. Or you betting. I don't know what was funny. See how they slammed?
The turn checks around, and then on the river when Jeff makes a lead here, I think I can go for a raise, and I definitely contemplated it and wish I did it. As soon as the hand was over, I kind of wish that I did it. And then obviously looking back and seeing what they had, I think I get it through a vast majority of the time. If I make it something like 1,700, and I just pick up the pot there pretty easily. So that one was kind of a little bit tilting for me not to execute on.
No, not that way.
Verbal free rolls are real.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to. I like you.
I apologize if it was or seemed to be.
There's no apologizing.
I like that. It's war. War has been declared by Mr. Cantu.
This next hand is another pretty interesting spot that I got put in. Again, I make it $900 on the double straddle with pocket nines this time. Mike makes a begrudging fold in the big blind, and Brandon calls from that double straddle. His range is pretty much any 2 cards at this point. He's at the point where he's blasting off really hard. The flop comes down 10-4-2 rainbow, and he leads for 1,100. Again, a spot where I think he could be leading all pairs on the board. Some random overcards. It's just his range is really wide, so obviously I have to call with nines. The turn card is the 6 of hearts. That brings the backdoor hearts, and now he jams all in. He jams for 5,700 into 4,100, and I am in a really tough spot here. Because his range is so wide, he can have pretty much all deuce X of hearts hands. He can have some just random like ace 3 of hearts and ace 5 of hearts. Sometimes he'll have 4-5 and 4-3 and 5-6, I think. I mean, his range is really, really wide. So this is a really tough spot for me to be in. So the first thing I start thinking about is what other hands can I have to call with? And I can have pocket 10s, pocket 4s, pocket 2s. I can have any 10x that I open, like 8-10 suited, 9-10 suited, Jack 10, Queen 10, King 10, Ace 10, and then obviously I have the overpairs. So pocket 9s, I guess, is somewhere right in the middle of all that. And when you think about how wide his range is, that maybe I should be calling this jam. But I honestly just didn't know in game, and I just opted to fold. It did turn out to be the right fold. I'm not sure that it actually is the right fold against what his full range is. It's a tough spot to be in, and what makes Brandon really tough to play against sometimes.
Good fold.
Off.
Matusow,
Look like a call.
King 10 flattered by Jack 10, flattered by Ace Jack. And Young with the 2 6s along for the ride. As is Cantu.
We all get excited for different reasons.
This is the very next hand, another standard open with King 10 of hearts. We take it 5 ways. And Brandon leads into the field again. Another interesting spot that I'm in here with Brandon leading. Into 4 players, he still leads middle pair type hands sometimes. And I just have to kind of call in this spot, not loving it. I actually don't hate folding with the field left to act behind me and him leading into 4 people, even though he's kind of losing his mind at this point. I think the flop is actually just really close. It feels really weak to fold given how wide Brandon's range is in these spots, but he also does lead pretty strong hands here, so I don't mind a fold. Obviously, Justin puts in a raise, and even if Brandon had folded, I was just going to fold because I felt like Justin was pretty strong in this spot, and even if he has some big draws, he's still probably a favorite against my hand, so I go ahead and just fold, obviously, once the action takes place.
Something wrong with me today, man.
All in.
Oops.
I've heard people say, why should this day be different than any other day?
Yeah. I understand how
Brother Savage,
I'm set.
given the escape hatch.
All right, so me and Jeff here on the first break. How you feeling, Jeff?
Feel good. We just played 2 hours on Poker After Dark.
I know,
How
it's
about
pretty
that?
crazy, right?
That's pretty surreal.
It's a totally different feeling playing on TV, though, right? For just playing a regular game.
Yeah,
You feel different?
it's like an out-of-body experience is probably an overstatement to a certain extent, but like, it almost feels like
It
that.
definitely,
you know?
like it's not real, right?
Yeah, like it's not real. But we get to sit next to each other.
We
and
do,
just
we do.
chat.
Yeah, it's great.
You drag Jody over here
Yeah,
to
Jody's
watch live
here. Yeah,
poker,
she's watching live poker.
which has to be one of the most boring things to watch. Because
Yeah.
it's not like Jody sees the whole cards.
I think I'm up a little bit right now.
Okay.
You are too. Are you 100%
Yeah,
you play?
a couple K.
Yeah. So
You know,
all right, we're
I
doing
only
it.
play aces.
We're having
and
fun.
Trevor's going to pick up on that. Yeah,
That's
it's a
right.
good time.
Only aces. So after the first break, had my little chat with Jeff there, and I was up $1,100. I think my open with Queen 8 of hearts here is pretty standard. Nothing to talk about there. The flop is interesting. I don't mind betting. I don't mind checking. My stronger queens, obviously, I'm going to bet, and I'd prefer to check the queens that have backdoor flush draws or a spade in them, but checking this has to be okay as well. Turn is a very easy value bet, I think. Checking again is not the worst plan against Barry, who's probably going to fire a lot of time, but I felt like I could get some value from some worse hands and go for 2 streets pretty easily here. On the river ace, pretty interesting spot. Definitely contemplated making a really small blocker bet to get some value from 10x hand and maybe induce some bluff raises and kind of just set my showdown price. I didn't think that he'd have too many ace-x hands, and when I checked how many bets, I guess I just have a call, but it's really close. Can consider raising too, but I think my hand makes more sense as a call, and I just beat enough of the random hands. Barry's tough to play against also because, as you saw, if you watch this entire episode, he can show up with some value hands in spots where he's actually bluffing. And so that I thought that could be the case here as well. And unfortunately for me, he did find the ace on the river in this spot.
Okay, between that and 7 deuce,
agree to.
Brandon, which would you do?
200 a man, 7 deuce.
Really?
Yeah. You guys want that? I'm in for that.
We were doing that, but you were
Counter.
3 steps away.
Yeah, I'll do
Whatever
it.
anybody wants to do, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm
200
I'll do
7
whatever everybody does. All right, cool.
So then we got the 7 deuce game started up, where if you won a pot with 7 deuce, you got $200 from each player. So that's obviously a pretty nice overlay and incentivizes you to really push hard for pots with 7 deuce. And not too long, I think it might have been the first hand that we started it. I opened here with the king jack of hearts and got 3-bet by Justin. This seemed to be a pretty common theme throughout these 2 nights. I continually had hands that were really good to call 3-bets with against wide ranges, but were not great to jam with. Even though I thought it was possible that he had 7 deuce here, I had too much to jam with king jack suited, I think. And I'm just going to play fine in position with it. So I go ahead and make the call.
Put on my 200 right.
Got him.
Yeah.
There you go. Now even 7 deuce wins here.
And then obviously the flop comes with a 7 and a deuce, and he leads. And so now I'm kind of just stuck where I can't really beat anything, and I just have to fold. And if he has 7 deuce, we have to pay up, which we actually have to. So that was pretty unfortunate.
Game is on for $200 ahead, negotiated by the players. Coincidentally, Young flopped himself 7s and deuces.
I thought it might be the case too, but then
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, another similar situation where double straddle again. I opened 800 this time with queen jack of hearts, and I know that I opened less than my previous hand, so that might have factored into the 3-bet here, and maybe the reason that I should just 4-bet jam this hand. I wanted to start opening smaller on this double straddle, especially with Brandon getting shorter, and you have to start at some point. You can't just wait for a good hand to open smaller and make that adjustment. So I just choose this hand to make it 800, and then he makes it 2,800 out of the straddle. And, he was getting really out of line at this point. So I'm sure jamming is plus EV for sure. I think calling is fine as well with a hand that plays so well post-flop that can just make some top pairs very easily and go with the stack-to-pot ratio. So I opted to call here. On the flop, interesting spot again, but when he checks, I think that he has a hand that is often good enough to continue. And so I don't think he's going to have very many check folds in the spot, meaning I think his air hands are just going to be bluffing this board with a really high frequency, and they're not going to be checking and just folding. And then even hands like ace king, I think are, ace high hands are check calling, I think. Those are the hands that I do want to target if I want to make a small bet and then continue on turns. But I also did not want to get check jammed off my equity, which I felt like he would do with a lot of pair hands. So I go ahead and just check back. And then once the turn comes to 7 and he bets, I really can't continue. And it's obviously unfortunate that his hand connected with his board and mine didn't in such a bloated pot.
2,500.
It's not 7 deuce again.
Well,
Let's go. Let's play some poker.
I mean, I wanted to call that time, but it would have
I'm ready to play
It
poker.
would have looked.
Let's go.
It would have looked like
Poker.
I would have looked like an idiot.
Poker, fast play, fast decision.
I love poker.
Ace King 8 Rainbow as Cantu pushes the pace.
I love
Defending his straddle against the Savage Open with Barry Woods in the middle. Savage with the 7 deuce here.
Aha, the hand of the night. Probably one of the best moments of my poker career, I'd probably say, up to this point in my life. I'm going to actually technically talk about this hand. So obviously I open with the 7 deuce. The extra money out there incentivizes me to do so. And I get calls from Barry and Brandon, who probably have both of the widest ranges at the table. So this is a good situation to be in. I think I have a pretty solid image at this point, I would guess. So that also helps. If this flop, this is going to heavily favor my range. It shouldn't hit either of them particularly hard. And I'm going to have like all the really strong hands like aces, kings, ace, king. So I continue with the bet, and only Barry makes the call. The turn brings the backdoor spades, which is very relevant in this situation. I actually have a good hand to continue betting for 3 streets because I don't have any spades or Broadway cards in my hand. So I continue and hoping just to get a fold out of some King X hands, and if not, then I'm setting up river jam with my sizing. I actually think my sizing is slightly too big in this spot. I think 1700 probably gets the job done against some King X hands and some of the just Broadway draws like Jack 10, Queen Jack, those hands. And also additionally now I only jam 6,000 on the river into 7,100 rather than being able to jam closer to a pot size bet. Barry makes a really quick call, which made me feel really confident that he didn't have 2 pair plus. His best hand was going to be 1 pair. And I thought it way more likely that he had a hand like King X of spades, Ace X of spades, or potentially a hand like Queen Jack, Queen 10, Jack 10 of spades. Those three specific hands. And when the river comes up blank 9, I think I just have to go for it against that range. And so I'm not anticipating him folding a hand like Ace Queen or Ace Jack, or maybe even Ace 10. I am obviously not folding Ace 9 either now it's made aces up. I'm really just targeting those King X of spades hands, Queen Jack, Jack 10, and Queen 10 of spades, those 3 hands, and then maybe getting them to fold a hand like Ace X of spades that is kind of smaller. So I went for it. And like I said, 7 deuce doesn't block any of those hands, so it's actually a decent bluff candidate in this spot, especially with the overlay of getting an extra $1,200 out of it if it works. So I go for it, which I was happy with in game, and I told myself as I was sitting there that I was happy with that I went for it no matter what, whether he called or not.
The struggle bus.
I would have.
Mike, you saw his hand first.
No, but my gut told me before I would.
He actually saw the hand first. That changes everything.
54, 59, 6,050.
Savage playing it cool.
Really?
Giving Barry a count.
God, so bad. So bad.
It's usually you saying that, Brandon.
I know.
Just because you raise every cutoff that I can't believe that you have a hand every time.
Some puzzle pieces beginning to interlock upstairs as Woods has his gears turning.
Got anything?
2 cards.
I like a lot more first. But point taken.
A little swallow there.
Probably bad, but I can always reload.
To take you a little bit into my mind, as he's contemplating the call, he was going to call. So I threw out the old Live Pro Hail Mary of just saying anything.
Not what you want to hear.
60 something or another.
60-50.
I'll show you either way.
If you play live poker for a long time, you know that it's pretty common for people to say, I'll show you if you fold. That tends to be on the weaker side. And I didn't care about that. I was just needed to say something. And if you can see here in this clip, after you've watched this, I feel like it changed everything. He kind of went to the believing that he might be beat at this point.
Savage.
Either I got you or I don't. That's the thing. 50-50.
Earn himself a fold.
50-50.
That's funny.
It's always 50-50,
I
isn't it?
got you beat or I don't. Well, you might have them tied.
I begin to think that I don't, though.
I'm guessing they're not tied.
Put those tokens in and collect over 13 grand, Barry.
So I will fold it.
200 each, boys. Yeah.
See, I had it in my hand. That was
Boom.
I just knew it.
Well, next time tell me. I would have saved you 200.
It's mine.
I must be crazy trying to bluff this guy.
I got you.
Yeah, bro.
Finally said I fold. And you see Mike throw the 200 out or look like he's going to throw the 200 out. If you can hear it on the clip, Barry says I fold before he does that. I know people are talking about that to me in Instagram comments and stuff like that. Mike did not tip off anything potentially. And I think Mike actually saw my face be relieved. You can see my face relieved that he says fold, and I get to scoop in the extra 1,200 and make a pretty epic bluff.
I didn't put you on that, but obviously. But
That's awesome, by the way. Regardless.
I thought he's going to find a call at first.
All right, that's going to be all for part 1 of this series. It's going to be a multi-part series. This is only halfway through the first day of play. Hopefully you guys enjoy this format. First time ever using footage like this, so probably going to take a little while to get used to. Hopefully I did a good job for you guys. A couple quick announcements. First ever meetup game, Maryland Live, August 24th. It's a Saturday. Look below for room information. We will be playing 2-3 no limit starting around 4 o'clock. Second announcement, second ever meetup game, August 28th. It's a Thursday at Rivers Casino in Schenectady, New York. They have a WPT Deep Stacks the following day. There's 3-day ones for that. It's $1,100 buy-in. But we have a meetup game on Thursday, August 28th at 6 p.m. playing 1-3 no limit. Hope to see everybody at these games. For now, hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you do, please like, subscribe, leave comments down below, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys very shortly, hopefully next 2 days or so for part 2.
Say, oh.